All right, so we'll get started. On the mystery stamping, it says cardstock 4¼ by 11, and it was supposed to say scored at 5½ on the 11-inch side. So I have a piece of Misty Moonlight for that. And then coordinating cardstock number 1 is 2 inches by 5¼ embossed, if you like. And I think that's crushed curry for that one. And then layers for your circle shape. So I do have I have a scalloped circle for my layering. And then coordinating cardstock 2½ by 4, darker or black. So this one I know maybe isn't really considered as dark as that, but I considered it kind of a dark color. And then let's see, the next one is the coordinating DSP. Now pieces 1 and 2, the reason why I put them together was because for them to be the same. If they're not the same, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just when I was cutting the DSP, that just seemed to, as I cut this piece, that piece was really easy to cut along with it. So my DSP, the 4 by 5¼ is the DSP for the hostess, the pattern party, I believe it is. And then the second piece is on landscape. And so this one was portrait. This one's landscape. And it's 1¼ by 4. And then the piece number 3, I put it on a next line because it was a different piece. And so I'm using from that same hostess pattern party. And this is a piece that's 2 3/8 by 3 7/8. And then a piece of vellum or a light piece of cardstock. And the reason why I put that in there was not everybody has vellum. And so I have a piece of vellum here. And what it does, that's a really busy print and it will kind of tone it down just a bit. So piece of vellum. And then on our basic white, 4 by 5¼ and I'm sorry if I misled you on that. I just omitted that X. So here's my piece of basic white for that. And then let's see, a 2½ inch circle or shape. It didn't have to be exact. When I give these dimensions, they don't have to be exact. It's just that that's what I'm using. So here's my 2½ inch circle. It's just to give you reference. And if you don't want a circle and you want a square, or if what you're looking for is a totally different shape, by all means, use those shapes. And then the ribbon is approximately 12 inches. So I have a piece of the bumblebee gingham ribbon. Bumblebee gingham. Oh my gosh, you know what I mean. Laughing at myself here. And then the stamp set that I'm going to use is the Turtle Friends. I've been wanting to use this. I love him. I don't know why, but I just love that set. And then the inks that I'm going to use are, I'm using Granny Apple Green, Early Espresso, and Sahara Sand. The piece here is Granny Apple Green. So I'm using these 3 colors. And then let's see, adhesives, embellishments. I'm also going to use the punch that goes with the Turtle Friends. So, all righty. So those are our bits and pieces. So I will move my paper off to the side and then we will get started. I'll move my Turtle Friends. This is a photopolymer stamp set, so I will bring in my piercing mat so that I can get a good image. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is, I said on that on the paper that you could emboss, that this piece here emboss if you like. I am going to emboss this, but I decided I would do that today. So I have my little mini embossing. And so I just think this thing's so cute. And the reason why I decided to do this is because whenever I have tried in the past to do a couple different things, I had trouble. I couldn't get my pieces to go through the machine. So I decided maybe I should explain some things because I had not explained them to myself, I guess, because I thought I knew, but I had forgotten. I don't know. So, oh, I forgot to grab the embossing folder though. Just 1 second. It was close by. Anyway, so I'm using one of our mini embossing folders that's for to go through the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I can't remember the name of it. It's little polka dots, but I can't right now. I can't recall the name of it. So I'm gonna put that in here. And why I've been trying to do it with the clear mat or clear pieces, but when I got to looking, you use number 1, your embossing folder, because the thicker ones won't go through this machine because they're also bigger. And then you're supposed to use number 3. And I kept trying to use a clear mat. And 1 clear mat was not enough. And 2, it wouldn't go through. And I was going to break the machine. So, and then what I have found out is if you put your number 1, you put your embossing folder, you put your number 3, and then I stagger it back just a little bit so that it can start going through the machine. Whoop. My paper is moving it. Well, maybe it'll go through the machine. Oh, I have to stagger the folder back is what it is. So it can go through farther and then get going. That's what it is. So the white bottom piece has to be it has to be out farther. Then your embossing folder has to be back a little bit, but you don't want to go back too far because you want it to still give the impression here. And then you want your gray one a little bit farther back. It seems to work best in this stacking, because if I do it the other way, you saw that I couldn't get to go through the machine because it's so blunt, it can't pinch. So if I can bring it back so it can pinch a little bit, and then it'll go through the machine. And then I have this really pretty embossed piece of cardstock. So I just wanted to share that just because of the, it takes a little bit of tweaking with it to figure out what it is that it takes to make that thing work. But once it works, it's wonderful. I like it. So, all right, so I'll put this here to the side. So we were going to take, you're going to take your card base, and I'm going to fold on that score line. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm going to crease. So my basic white, I'm going to take this little piece of our DSP that is in the landscape, and I'm going to adhere that right down here at the bottom, kind of like that. So if you have your basic white and then you have your piece of your DSP that is the 1 1/4 by 4, you're going to adhere it right there. See if this works. Well, no, it doesn't. That one was out too. Everything that I own is out. See if this now works. Ah, yes, it does. I need to figure out where I put my Stampin' Seals. Okay. And then, so I'm going to open my card up and I'm going to adhere this. This is our inside panel. If you have any stamping that you want to do on the inside, now would be the time to do that. But I'm going to wait and see who I'm going to send it to know what I want to put on the inside. And if I need to, I can do like a shape and put my stamping on that and then attach the shape to the inside. Okay. So there's the inside of our card. That part's finished. All right, so I'm going to bring in the other piece of DSP that is the 4" by 5 1/4, and I'm going to adhere that right to the front of my card. Trying to decide what direction I want my pattern to go. I think I want this to go up this time. Adhere that there. All right, so if you have the piece of vellum, or if you don't have the vellum and you have a light piece of cardstock, what I'm going to do is, because vellum, you can see your adhesive through it, you're not going to see that much of this. So I'm not going to put it near the edge, but I'm going to load it up through the center. If you have just a piece of cardstock, that's fine. You can put it anywhere because it's not going to show. But with me having vellum, it'll show. And then I'm going to put my ribbon on the card here. And I want more on the right side than I do on the left because I'm going to tie it about right here. And then I'm going to put my vellum down. I'm going to try to center it. And then I want to try to, I'm not going to press it down here yet. I'm going to press it up here though. That way, if I need to move my ribbon, I can. It's still not tacked all the way down. See, I can still move that around. All right. So the next step then is the piece that is the 2" by the 5 1/4, the one that I embossed. If you didn't want to emboss yours, you didn't have to. Now we're going to adhere that to the front. So on the ends, I'm going to be certain to put quite a bit of adhesive because this is not the, my vellum's not adhered on the edges. And so I want to be certain that when I put this down, and I'm going to line my cardstock up with the bottom of my DSP. And I'm still trying not to press where the ribbon is, just at the top and the bottom. And then I'm still going to leave my ribbon open. I'm going to take my secondary piece of DSP, and I'm going to layer that right here on this piece of Granny Apple green cardstock. I've got cardstock from the last one I just did. Most of my flowers are directional, is going that way. I think it's multi-directional, the patterns that they use, but so now I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this. Am I going too fast for all of you? Okay. So then I'm going to add that. I'm trying to, between the edge of my vellum and the edge of my cardstock, not the vellum, I'm trying to center. And then I'm going to center up and down on the vellum. And then I'm going to press, not where the ribbon is again, in case I need to move it. And then I'll scoot my ribbon just a little bit up, if I can. And then I'll tie a knot. I need to make certain that I don't pull up my vellum. But I know when I'm tying this knot that it's going to get a little bit loose. So I'm put my finger there, cross over. Pull my ends. Okay, so I'm gonna leave my ends for right now. And then I'll trim them off to see when I put my image on there. Okay, so I'm gonna set this up here for now because here, I'll scoot this over here. That way it's still in the frame. You can still see how I put it all together. I put the DSP on my Misty Moonlight. Then I added my vellum, but I had the ribbon laid down before I put the vellum down. I attached the cardstock that had been embossed, but I only attached at the top, and I tried not to press down here to press where the ribbon was at so I could still move the ribbon. I attached my DSP to my cardstock base and then attached that, trying to center between the vellum edge, the cardstock edge, and then the top and bottom of the vellum. Then I tied my ribbon in a knot. So and then on the inside, of course, we put the DSP onto our basic white and adhered it on the inside. So that's what we've done so far. Now I'm going to bring in my piercing mat and my circle. Then I'm also going to grab my scrap paper for my image. All right, so on this, and you can do yours however you want, but how I'm going to do mine is I'm going to take the Granny Apple Green, and on my stamp that says happy birthday, on the thing, it's one stamp, happy birthday. What I did was I took a pair of snips and basically I cut between the happy and the birthday so that I could stack it. But if I want to, I can, I just made one clean cut then I can put it back together and have a straight across happy birthday. But I wanted mine stacked and I didn't want to have to try inking it and then try to line it up. So I just lined it up on my block. So that makes for easier inking. So I'm going to open up my granny apple. I'm going to ink up my happy birthday. And I'm going up here to the top of the circle and off to the left. It's a circle, so, you know, I don't know if it could be crooked or not, but I'm certain that I could make it crooked. Okay, so there's my happy birthday. Need my block. I'm gonna set this off to the side. Well, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and adhere it to my scallop. I don't know how good that adhesive is, so I'm really loading it on there. Okay, I'll just set that off to the side. So I'll bring in my scrap paper. And then I'm going to bring in my Sahara sand. And early espresso. And there's something in my, well, the glue is now. Something on my thing. I don't want that to get in my image and then my image not be crisp. All right, so the first thing that I did the last time was I stamped the turtle outline and then I stamped to fill in the shell. I did not line up very well. So I've decided I'm going to stamp the shell first this time and then the turtle. So I'm going to take the shell. I'm going to ink it up. And I'm going to put words on this. So I'm stamping off and then stamping onto my scratch paper here. And hopefully I got it high enough so I can stamp the rest of the turtle on there. That's a pretty good image. Now I'm going to take the Sahara sand and ink my turtle outline. And then line up the shell. We'll see how I did. That's so much better than the last. See, I got it off-centered here, trying to do it the other way. And it's just like trying to stamp it and line it up in the punch. It's easier to do than to punch it and then try to stamp on it. So I like that one way better than I like that one. Okay, so now then I have these words that say it's time to celebrate. And I'm using early espresso because I wanted a dark image so that you could see it through the green. So now that I have to line that up and hold so I get a good image. It's time to celebrate. So I'm gonna bring in my punch. Try to line him up. Looks pretty good. Punch him out. I think I'm figuring out what works for this set for me. It may not work like that for everybody, but for me, that's how it was best for me to do it. So it turned out pretty good. Move this off to the side. Close up my inks. Go ahead and clean my fingers off and my stamps. Give you guys a chance to catch up. All right, so now we'll bring in our card. I'm going to bring in our circle. Bring in my turtle. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out another stamp. There's a party hat in here. I think I'll stamp it in green. I'm making this so that we don't have to do any collaring. Yeah, I think it'll work. I'll just fussy cut that out. Once you have your pieces cut, it has pretty simple stamping, depending on if, you can, my card has simple stamping. Your card, you may need to do some coloring, doing some blends, use a watercolor, pencils. I mean, you're more than welcome to add as much. I was trying to do something that was, fairly, straightforward stamping, and then having a cute project just from doing that. All right, so I haven't used any dimensionals on my card, and I love dimensionals. So now's when we're going to use the dimensionals. I'm going to turn him over and add dimensionals to his back of his head, his shell, down near his legs, and then I think I'll put small dimensionals where his legs are. I don't think the mini dimensionals are quite as thick as the other. They might be. It might just be a deception of the size of it. So We'll see. Take the backings off. Keep getting off camera. Okay. So we'll bring him in. I think that'll work. So now I'm going to add adhesive to the back of my circle. The adhesive must be pretty good. It keeps tearing my cardstock. I want to make certain my happy is pretty straight. I'm going to set it a little off center. You can center yours if you want. Okay. Oh, there's the party hat. I'm going to add a mini dimensional to the back of the pom-pom, and then a little bit of adhesive at the bottom of the hat. So a dimensional, a little bit of adhesive at the bottom. Put this little hat on him. So now I'm going to trim off my ends. And there is my card. You can add Wink Stella, you could add shimmer paint just to give it some sparkle. If you wanted to color him in, you could, but I'm looking for something quick and simple. The main focus is the sentiment here on the front. And so here's our card. And then I will show you my others that I have. Here's the one that I made prior. I did not put the little party hat on him. And then I have a stack . Okay, so I needed to do a card for a swap, and it's black and white. It had to all be black and white. And so I ordered from the new catalog, the July to December, and in it they had some penguins. And so I punched the penguin out of black cardstock, and then I stamped the center part of the penguin, and then I put some eyelashes on the eyes and put little, even though it's supposed to be black and white, I did put some little rosy cheeks. I think his nose maybe is supposed to be a little higher, but I still think he turned out cute. This is that same DSP. It's just flipped over. And so, and then this is some of the new ribbon that's like the black shimmer ribbon that we have, but it's in the white. I just added a little bit of cards, the DSP behind here, just, it looked kind of lost because I couldn't add much more to it. So this is my card for my swap. That's for the black and white swap. And then on the inside, I had that piece of DSP. So then I thought, that's cute, but if I wasn't under that constraint of the black and white only, I could have made it way cuter. So I pulled out the DSP for that set and put the polar bear and the penguin and a little tree. And so it's the same thing, but it has a little bit of color. So I'm really liking this paper. There's a stamp set that's the penguins, and this paper will be a celebration paper. So I believe that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty certain that it's the celebration paper. And so the punched out the little penguin, but I had to fussy cut my polar bear and the tree, but I don't know if you can see that. Look how cute. Isn't he adorable? I love them both. So I like that set a lot. So there are my cards that I made. This is the one that I did today. And this one here, I put happy birthday. It's time to celebrate. And then on the inside, because this is for my cousin who he had a birthday and I missed it, I put happy belated birthday. Sorry, I was so slow. So I might stamp another hat and put on here to send, or I could just send it like this. So there are my cards. That is our mystery stamping. And now the mystery stamping has been solved. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for this. I appreciate it. Hope you like this.